Welcome to ACD Combatives. This is part of a series of BJJ-4-COPS presented to you by Coach Doug.
All right, we're going to cover the suspect being in side control or side mount on the officer. A couple things I haven't addressed yet, and I'll just go over real quickly, is weapon retention. If someone is mounting me, weapon retention is taken out of the game because, look, my gun would be right here, right? He's going to be blocking himself from trying to pull my gun out. If I can access it, you can access it, right? But I think it's going to be very difficult because his legs are going to be blocking your firearms and your tools. Okay, that's why they teach you to trap and roll. In my guard, now the firearm is in play. Okay, but here's the thing, and this is what each and every officer has to determine on their own in the moment, right? If I pull my firearm out right here, just remember, while it's always in play, now he has accessibility to it, right? So if you're comfortable, if you feel the need, not comfortable, but if you can articulate why you did what you did, then do it. But weapon retention here, if he goes for my weapon, right, I'm gonna have to definitely address it. But if he's not going for my weapon, that's when I go for my techniques. So always keep that in mind. With weapon retention, you have to be aware of, obviously, have awareness, but some of these techniques, you're not going to, if they're going for your firearm, then always address it first. Okay, that's the first thing you should always address. But if they're not going for your firearm, then I can start going for my techniques. All right, so just keep that in mind. So we're moving on to side control. So he's going to be the officer, and I'm the bad guy.
So very first thing is safety in the position, right? So as Doug comes into side control, he's going to make contact, sternum to sternum, right? If my arms are isolated out here, right, there's not a whole lot I can do. I need to get some sort of protective frame. And so what we recommend is bringing this forearm in and framing against the hip. I don't use my hand on the hip because if he drops down low, he can actually break my wrist. So I use my forearm on the hip. This hand is going to come under the neck and cup the shoulder. So I got forearm against the neck, forearm against the hip. Alright? And this is just going to take some of the pressure off of the sternum to sternum. It's also going to give me a frame so I can do the shrimp. So what I want to do is I want to extend the leg that's closest to his hips. I'm going to oofa. I'm bridging into him. For this, I can bring my foot out just a little bit. Right? I want the force of my hips to be going into him, not straight up in the air. Right? He's still heavy on me here. So as I extend this leg, I might bring this foot out just a little bit. I'm going to oofa into him. This frame is now going to fill the space. If I just drop my hips, he's just going to follow, connect sternum to sternum. So what I want is when I bridge in, I fill that space with my frame. Now I've created an opening. So I'm going to take advantage of that. My hips come back. This foot stays wide, so if he drives back into me, I can keep him away. If I shrimp, and this foot comes off the ground, and he drives into me, he's going to drive me flat again. Foot comes out, I bridge into him, fill that space as my hips go back. His foot stays in contact with the ground. My bottom knee is now going to insert. What I want my shin flush against the hip. I'm actually grabbing his hip with this foot. From here, I'm catching his arm and I'm squaring up. Now we have a couple options from here. The one we teach in jiu-jitsu is we want this foot to drop to the ground, in between his legs. And I'm now going to shrimp the other way, so my hips are going to go out that way. That's going to free my foot and allow me to recover my guard and start working from there. The other variation, I insert the knee. As I square up, I can drop that foot down and start shoulder blocking back. Get to my feet.
That's what we would use, obviously, in conjunction with a grab walk and a tactical. Weapon retention on this, right? It all depends. If he's a lefty, then it's in play. And if I start to go for it, the first thing he needs to address is that, okay? That's the first thing we need to address as officers is our firearm safety, right? Is making sure. So if I start to go for it, he needs to address it. 2-on-1, 1-on-1, whatever it is. But that's your main concern, okay? Your main concern is that play. But the thing is, he can't go for your weapon and try to punch you at the same time. He's going to have to do one or the other. So if I go for his weapon retention. The second I can't get it, and I start to focus on punching, that's when you go for your techniques, right? You have to kind of figure out in a dynamic situation what someone's doing and what the right applicable tool to use for that moment, all right? A lot of you guys are going to be like me. I'm older, heavier. I don't have a lot of flexibility. So a lot of times when I come here and I get to this position, right, I can't drop my foot because I can't bring it in enough to get it on the ground, right? So you feel like you're caught. You can always shrimp, right, this way to get the foot down, right? So if you can't get this foot down, like I can't even do it now, just to shrimp out that way, to then get guard. Don't remember, you just post this foot one more time, shrimp out a little bit more, drop the foot, pull into guard, or crab walk away. All right? Just a couple little things to make this technique easier, because I know this is one of the more difficult ones people have trouble with. It comes back to the shrimp, because that seems to be the most difficult fundamental that everybody has trouble with. All right? So, anything else?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, cool. All right, so work on this one. This one's really, like I said, it's one of the more difficult ones. And if you have time, you can watch an off-duty officer in Kansas City shot and killed a firefighter. He was working as a security guard. It's a famous. It's a really well-known YouTube or video, especially on Police One and things like that. And that's one of those situations where the officer, you could obviously tell he had no training, no fault of his own through his department, but he had no training, formal training on what to do if someone has you in side control. So that's a good video to review before you start working on this technique.